Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We're talking about Hillary Clinton. Yeah, thanks for that microphone adjustment there. Talking about Hillary Clinton and her need to be in the limelight. And it's rather strange when you trying to understand why this woman won't stay out of the way. I guess maybe the immunity deal. I don't know. Does that cover the immunity deal? Only covers like if you didn't do something. I don't know how immunity works. I've watched a few Law and Order episodes, and I don't think it's quite. Hillary can't just walk around here thinking she's bulletproof. Anyway, it's Kevin Jackson Show. It's what you're listening to. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. I'm looking at the transcript of Hillary Clinton being quizzed on, do you think that there's a reason to delegitimize the election of Donald Trump? And it's fascinating. It really is. She's being interviewed by NPR, and the lady's name is Terry Gross, and she posed the question, would it be legitimate to challenge the legitimacy of the election if things increased, if we found out more about Russia, which there's nothing more to find out, but okay, fine. So she hadn't answered the question, so the NPR host says this again. I want to get back to the question. Would you completely rule out questioning the legitimacy of this election if we learned that the Russian interference in this election is even deeper than we know now? Now, that's a horrible question, because it's if it turns out that we know a lot more, and as it's turning out, we're learning there's nothing there. But okay, fine, let's run with it. Clinton says this. No, I would not. I would say, and then she gets interrupted. You're not going to rule it. You're not going to rule it out. Clinton, no, I wouldn't rule it out. Now, what's funny about that? Clinton says, no, I would not. I would say, and the woman interrupts and goes, but you're not gonna rule it out. Like, you're not gonna rule this out, are you? Certainly, you can't let this go. So it's a setup question. I'm just telling you guys how media works on the left. This is all contrived. It's a setup. No, remember we talked about it. You couldn't let this go. And then Clinton comes back and says, no, I wouldn't rule it out. Then NPR says, so what are the means? Like, this is totally unprecedented in any way. Clinton, it is. But NPR goes, what would be the means to challenge it if you thought it should be challenged? And Clinton says this. This is so funny because you can see this coming a mile away. Well, basically, I don't believe there are. Like she's saying, as much as I should be the president at this point, if we were to find out something, there's no way to challenge it. And I love how the left invoke what I'm about to say. Hopefully you'll get it. I won't do any emphasis or anything, so you can figure it out on your own. But she says, there are scholars, academics, who have arguments that it would be. But I don't think that they're on strong ground. But people are making those arguments. I just don't think we have a mechanism. The Kenya election was just overturned. And really, what's interesting about that, and I hope that somebody writes about it, Terry. She says, the Kenyan election was also a project of Cambridge Analytica, the data company owned by the Mercer family that was instrumental in the Brexit vote. So she's trying to imply that all those millions of Brits who voted to leave the EU because they're tired of this nonsense of multiculturalism, etc., and she's trying to pretend that, well, that vote could have been influenced because the Kenyan vote was overturned. And so she says this. And so we know that there was this connection. So what happened in Kenya, which I'm only beginning to delve into, because, Hillary, she's got time to delve. So she says, I've only gotten time to delve into, is that the Supreme Court there said there are so many really unanswered and problematic questions, we're going to throw the election out and redo it. We have no such provision in our country, and usually we don't need it. This is hysterical. This is kabuki theater. It is so funny to me. Wow. She's implying that we should have a law that allows the Supreme Court to overthrow a duly, an election if there's any voter impropriety. Now, I don't know if you guys have been following some of these cases. The number of places where Hillary Clinton won, where they've got 130% voter registration. Dead people still on the rolls. Problems with absentee ballots that have names like Mickey Mouse and Tony Dorsett and, Animal Kingdom and whatever. It is ridiculous how many fraudulent votes were cast for Hillary. They suspect now it's in the millions. And what are the places that allow for illegal votes? So Hillary Clinton is setting the stage. All this is about 2 words: Electoral College. Anyway, she goes on to say this. Now, I do believe we should abolish the Electoral College, because I was sitting listening to a report on the French election, and the French political analysts say, in our country, the person with the most vote wins, unlike yours. And I think that's an anachronism. I've said that since 2000. See, the Democrats would love to have this. They'd love to abolish the Electoral College and thus give California a huge advantage over Idaho or Iowa or Rhode Island. There's no rationale for saying that the majority of the people in this country should tell these tiny states what to do. These tiny states would be rendered useless. Nobody would ever visit Rhode Island. Many of these, they would say, who cares? I'll stick to Florida, Texas, California, Illinois, whatever. The population centers would dictate who wins. That's it. It's that simple. Hillary Clinton knows that we shouldn't be talking about. The Electoral College is a stroke of genius. It really is. When I remember studying this in school going, why shouldn't the person with the most votes win? Seemed pretty simple. And then it was explained to me. You can't if you do that, you've negated everybody. Let me put it to you another way. Do you want Californians dictating what you do in South Carolina? You couldn't be more diametrically opposed. I mean, if you were on separate coast. That's a joke. The point is, they are worlds apart. People who live in St. Louis are nothing like New York City people. I mean, they're really not. We can talk about, we're human beings, Kevin, we're all one and the same. I mean, come on now. I get what you're saying. But being a person who lived in St. Louis for many years and who flies to New York, I will tell you, you can't get much different. These people think differently in all kinds of ways. I'll give you an example. In New York, the funniest thing to me, when you get up in the morning and you're in Manhattan. Now, this is mostly a Manhattan thing. This is not in the suburbs. But in Manhattan, you're walking down the street and guys have their water hose out and they're watering the concrete. Now, why are they water the concrete the same way some dude in Missouri may get up in the morning and water his grass. They don't, and for the record, in Missouri now, they probably got a sprinkler system, but if they don't, my grandfather used to get up and water the grass. They water the concrete. And I find that funny because if I said to a Southerner, yeah, I was in New York and they were watering the concrete, he'd go, they were watering the what? Watering the concrete. Washing it down. The same way you would do grass. That's their grass. They call it a concrete jungle, not because they're trying to, because there's a bunch of monkeys living there. They call it a concrete jungle because that's the way they treat it. They water the concrete. Why? Because it's dirty. It gets dirty. The dogs do their business right there. People will pick up the poo, but the urine is still there. It's a nasty place. But that's something very different than the norm. And there's a ton of other things. You know, how do you hail a cab, and when do you take the subway? And I mean, it seems to the normal. You're like, Kevin, you seem to be making a big deal. I'm telling you, it's night and day. And I haven't gotten into the big things that change you, but it is, and you notice it. Every time I go, I notice something different. It'll be like, why are they doing that? Oh, well, we do that because of this or that. And you're like, wow, man, I'm a bumpkin when it comes to dealing with these big city types. Anyway, look, I want to talk more about Bill O'Reilly, his accuser. Interesting story. Maybe you haven't heard it.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.